Welcome everyone who is entering the webinar. We'll take about a minute to allow the webinar to populate. Steve Hunnigs here at the JCRC. We're with our special guest, Mark Wilf, for whom we'll be making introductions and offering thank yous in about 30 to 60 seconds, but let's let everyone join and we'll get started. Thanks so much, everyone, for participating. Okay, let's get started. It's 12:01. Welcome, everyone. I'm Steve Hunnigs. I'm the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Minnesota and the Dakotas, and thank you for participating in today's JCRC Living Room webinar. This is the next in a series. We've had Neil Kashkari from the Federal Reserve, diplomat Dennis Ross, Sarah Tuttle Singer from Israel, and many others who have participated in our series. So thank you, Mark. Welcome. We'll have a longer welcome for you in a couple minutes, but I just want to say right at the outset, it's always a pleasure, and thank you for taking time for your busy schedule. Lots of thank yous here at the outset. Our board chair, Judy Cook, who's joining us, Mark, of course, Lester Bagley, the Executive Vice President for Public Affairs, who is always so good to the JCRC and our entire community, works very closely with the Wilf family. Andrew Miller, COO, whom you'll meet soon, my JCRC colleagues, Anthony Sussman and Sami Rahamin, and our entire team. I understand Senator Rudy Boschwitz is joining us today, so thank you very much. Federation execs Ted Flom from St. Paul, Jim Cohn from Minneapolis. I think Todd Leonard, the chair from Minneapolis, is joining us, perhaps Rick Links too from St. Paul. Harold Smith, Kenahora at 100 years old, is with us today, so thank you, Harold Smith, for coming along, honored by the Vikings on the sideline for one of the games, so how terrific that is. By the way, folks, submit your questions via the chat and we'll try to take them as best we can. Mark Wilf. Mark is the owner and president of the Minnesota Vikings. He's a principal of Garden Homes in New Jersey, Short Hills, New Jersey. He's the chair, remarkable position of Jewish Federations of North America. He's very smart, by the way, folks. He's got a Princeton education, electrical engineering and computer science, NYU law grad for his JD. Jane, 4 kids, all of whom are graduates of the Jewish Day School in New Jersey. One of his mottos is he's an unwavering advocate for the needs of the Jewish people, and we've seen that locally, regionally, nationally, and globally. So thank you, Mark, very much. Family is supportive of so many important philanthropic endeavors in Minnesota, nationally, and globally, and we'll hear more about those. But with that, Mark, thank you, welcome. Great victory on Sunday, and here we go.
Yes, great timing. If having a victory is a prerequisite for this event, let's do it every week. So thank you, Steve, and we appreciate your leadership and what the JCRC does for the community, and really all your work. I know you work tirelessly on behalf of the community and for social justice and all the great values, and we just appreciate, and I know you for many years, but appreciate you having me on. We also appreciate the JCR's partnership and the Jewish community advocacy in Minnesota and the upper Midwest. I know what real impacts you're making, so wearing my other hat as JFNA, Jewish Federations of North America chair, I thank you for that. And it's great to be with all of you today. I'm sorry I can't see you in this webinar format, but hearing all the names that Steve just mentioned, many friends among them, and great to be with you. So look forward to be in person with you sooner than later, and look forward to the conversation. I also want to thank all the participants here today for your support of the Minnesota Vikings. I know we have partners on the call, season ticket members and fans, and just we know how meaningful the Vikings are to the community, and we're fighting every day, and that's our ultimate goal, is to bring a championship to Minnesota, and we're working very hard on that. So on that note, I do want to recognize my colleagues at the Vikings, Lester Bagley, of course, who many of you know, and Lester does just an outstanding job in so many areas for the Vikings, and in particular with the community relations front, especially the social justice issues these past few months. Outstanding work over the years. And also joining us today is our Vikings Chief Operating Officer, Andrew Miller. Andrew is relatively new and now a little over a year already, hard to believe, to the Minneapolis-St. Paul Jewish community. He oversees the business side of the Minnesota Vikings. And I look forward to you getting to know and working with Andrew. And Andrew, you want to say hello to the group here?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And it's great to meet everybody virtually. My family, my wife, Jill, my 3 kids, we've moved into Minneapolis and we've been here just about a year. And we love the area and have enjoyed getting settled. We'll enjoy it more once COVID lets up a little bit and we can get out and meet everybody in person. But I want to echo Mark's thanks for your support of the Vikings and look forward to seeing everybody at the stadium hopefully next season.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Mark. We're going to start with a little video, and let me introduce it to give some context. And by the way, catchment area of the Vikings, of course, are the Dakotas, and we have Stephen Rosenthal, our board member from Sioux Falls, and Ted Kleiman from Fargo, who are with us too. So 225,000 square miles of paradise between Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, all of it Vikings country. So that's all for the good. Holocaust education and social justice are very important to the Wilf family and to the Vikings. A couple of years ago, the Vikings organized a trip to DC that visited the Smithsonian Museum of African American History, as well as the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. And it was very important to combine these 2 pieces of education that are so dear to the hearts of the Vikings and to all of us indeed. So now we're going to roll the tape and you'll get a sense of the Vikings' commitment to both issues.
In the Hebrew language, there is no word for history. There is no word for history. The only word for history in the Jewish language is zachor, and that means remember. We don't have a history unless we tell the stories.
This is really a 12-year period that we define as the Holocaust, which is the state-sponsored bureaucratic annihilation of this particular group of people, and there were many other victims.
In the United States, there's still nearly 100,000 survivors, but as time goes, there'll be less and less people that remembered what happened. That's why a building like this is important. These stories have to be continued to be told so that young people continue to learn, so we never have to do those things ever happen again. I'm just very proud of the fact that we're part of an organization, the Vikings organization. Our players, our front office, our staff, the folks from Project Success, we're all here together, really learning about how we can make the world a better place in whatever way we can. This was a boat, the St. Louis, and it came to the shores of America, and America wouldn't take them in, and they went back. It's a very famous story, and those people went back to Europe, and they eventually, most of them were killed.
Wow.
They were right on the shores right off of Florida, I believe.
Trying to get out.
Yep. I think we have a platform where we can promote tolerance and respect of others, and I think this trip has really re-energized and refocused not just all the folks here, but our whole organization to really lean into this effort. We are very privileged, but with that privilege comes a responsibility to give back, to be the role models you are, and that's something very important to us. We talk about social justice, making sure that there's not inequality and intolerance. So we can make a difference. We're going to speak out when things aren't the way they should be. And I think these experiences, like these museums, teach us the lessons of history to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Mark, for the efforts of the Vikings in teaching history, whether it's the African-American experience or the American Jewish experience or the European Jewish experience over the years. But I know your family's anchored in hope and love and all good things going forward. want to start a discussion by just holding this up, and I know it's not a great way to see, but this was the Jerusalem Post for Shabbat Friday magazine from April 2016, and you can tell something about the influence and the impact of the Wilf family in Israel when the Jerusalem Post has a cover story about Mark. It says, "From Miroslav to Minnesota, Mark Wilf, co-owner and president of the Minnesota Vikings, is a proud Jewish symbol of the American dream." We could probably spend our entire time just unpacking that cover page from the Jerusalem Post Friday magazine. But tell us a little bit, Mark, about your family and your engagement with the community and why this means so much to you.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's just seeing that video, reliving that. I mean, how the world has changed. That was about, I guess, close to a little over a year and a half ago. And when you see all the things that happened, and particularly in Minneapolis, just about a mile or so from our stadium, with the George Floyd murders and so forth, all the perspective. And I mean, social justice is an ongoing battle that has gone on for centuries and will continue to go on. We need to make the world a better place. And you know, in a personal way, the fact that my parents, grandparents, all Holocaust survivors, all very steeped in the fact that you know, they were role models for me, my brother Ziggy, my cousin Lenny, our entire family, not just because they survived, but they came to America, they rebuilt their lives, and they dedicated themselves to giving back, to not just succeed in business, fortunately enough, but to invigorating Jewish life, a better society, and creating a meaningful and strong, supportive Jewish community. So that's the kind of values you know, that they passed down to their children, grandchildren, and we're trying to do the same. And the importance of saying Hineni and giving back. You know, my grandmother, my Babu Miriam, really rescued our family. And I've told the story to our team and to our players and to others. You know, the fact was that she escaped a ghetto in Lvov, Poland. There were 180,000 Jews in Lvov, Poland, and my mother's family was one of just a handful to survive. And she had Christian papers. She escaped that ghetto with my grandfather, my mother, and my uncle, who were little children at the time. And they lived on a farm. And my grandfather was hidden under the floorboards of a barn for 2 years. Every single day, they didn't know if they'd make it to the next day. And there was no one to look out for them. There was no one in the world that would take them in. There was no state of Israel to protect them as Jewish people. And those are the kind of things that has motivated my generation, and God willing, future generations, to make sure that there is an Israel that survives and thrives as a Jewish homeland, that we are fortunate to live in America, and to make sure that America is a just and socially accepting place as it is, and to continue that fight for social justice. So that's where the video comes full circle, and that's kind of my own family background on how we got to that.
Thanks, Mark. During your time as chair of the JFNA, you've made it a point, and the entire JFNA has made it a point, to look out for the welfare of Holocaust survivors in the United States. So important, particularly people aging, and the need to maintain their dignity by providing them with what they need in life. Tell us a little bit about those efforts and how we can help.
Well, you know, there's an ongoing, and you see it in the video. I mean, the fact was I was privileged to help participate in a campaign to take care of Holocaust survivors. And there, you know, survivors, I think you mentioned Senator Boschwitz, there's some others, survivors I know potentially on the call, and people that have had those experiences, have those stories. They're really our greatest teachers, and I find them to be heroes in so many ways. So we have to take care of them. Like you saw in the video, 100,000 roughly survivors in the United States, and the fact that nearly a third of them are living at or below the poverty line is something that we can't tolerate. And in fact, in 2012, Vice President Biden at the time led off an initiative that Jewish federations participated in, $15 million now from the United States government towards an initiative to help care for elderly survivors. And I think the folks on this call, part of the federation system, proud of the fact that now over $60 million has been raised and distributed in communities to help take care of social needs, where food and medicine and home care. And now The trauma, it's one thing for elderly, the things they go through, but for a Holocaust survivor being going to an institution or even a nursing home or whatever, it's doubly impactful because of the trauma they experienced younger. So we're proud of the fact that the United States government has weighed in, and we're also proud of the fact as a community that we've participated to take care of these people. And it's something very important. And I think your community and the Minnesota community has done so much as well. So we need to keep raising those funds and keep making sure we take care of these wonderful people and wonderful storytellers.
Is this something we should do in connection with February 1 and February 2 and the JFNA National Advocacy Day, an opportunity for us to virtually connect with our members of Congress?
Yeah, I think, thank you for mentioning that. We've had a long history, and I think people like, I mentioned Senator Bosch's, people that are around the political sphere, and I know Lester's so engaged in it, and advocacy is a big right as a citizen. And we're very proud as a community, and I think hopefully everyone on this call can participate. February 1 and 2, we're gonna have a 2-day virtual advocacy day on issues domestically that are important to the community, whether it's human services, security, taking care of the Holocaust survivors. So there's a host of issues that I think there'll be some education in preparation for that, and also some broader experiences, as well as meeting with your local officials in Washington virtually this year to really advocate the disability rights. We very proud of the fact that every year we have a Disability Rights Day, and it's something we're very proud to participate in. So there's a lot of information. And for those of you that don't know, I've mentioned a couple times JFNA. That's the Jewish Federations of North America. It's the umbrella body for the fact, Minneapolis and St. Paul are 2 of 146 federations nationwide that provide Jewish community sense of belonging, sense of human services, connection to Israel and overseas. And that is the umbrella body, and Minneapolis and St. Paul are both very proud parts of that with great histories.
Thank you. We are indeed proud to work with you, Mark, and the JFNA and our federations and the JCRC. We're one seamless web of advocacy on behalf of the causes that we all hold.
And
So
Steve,
here-
one thing I hope, and I'm glad we have this forum. I think now we had this election, I'm hoping, because I know even in the Jewish community, there's a lot of division, just like there is in a lot of the country. And Steve, I know the JCRC is always the leader on this, and hopefully we can think about ways. I think the umbrella that the Jewish community federations can be a great way that we as a community try to start reducing those divisions and figuring out ways that we can collaborate and come out together in a unified way on the issues that many of them that are of concern for both right and left of the political spectrum. So hopefully, I know, Steve, you always are a consensus builder, and that role will continue for the JCRC going forward. That's something very important, especially in light of the way we are as a country now.
As long as you gave me the opening, Mark, of course, we're a proud partner of St. Paul and Minneapolis and the JFNA, receiving important financial support and working very closely with Ted Flom and Jim Cohen, that we have a democracy project, which is a partnership with the College of St. Benedict, significantly a Catholic institution, and Concordia College Moorhead, significantly traditional Lutheran Scandinavian institution. And we had our first event virtually, of course, with Ibu Patel, who is the founder of the Interfaith Youth Corps, who is Muslim and a great spokesman of the Muslim community in the United States. So here we had Jewish, Protestant, Muslim community, the whole idea of the Democracy Project is to learn how to talk about difficult issues and work through them as a nation. So precisely to your point, and I'm proud that we can participate together. And that's ways that the Vikings support of the JCRC goes to benefit the greater community. So thank you very much, Mark.
It's so powerful. I mean, I can just recall when I took on this role with JFNA, for instance, the very first week on the job was when the Tree of Life massacre happened in Pittsburgh. And the kind of community and consensus that you're talking about right now, we went into the memorial in Pittsburgh. There were 3,000 people at that memorial the Sunday night, the day after that shooting. And it was so powerful. There were over 100 people of clergy from dozens of religions and faiths. And it was so powerful. And I'll never forget all of that. But even in particular, one of the imams stood up and he said, if you need tonight people to come secure your synagogues and your community centers, we will get people there tonight, and we will stand with you to guard those places. I'll never forget the feeling I had. And that's the kind of umbrella and power you get in all the communities. So what you're talking about is very real. It can be very raw at times when you have like George Floyd and other things happening. Kol hakavod to you and what you're doing.
A collective Shomerim, we all have to watch over each other. Isn't that true? And you should know that shortly before the Eitz Chaim terrorist attack, Dan Pleckenpohler became our first full-time director of community security, and Anthony Sussman and so many other people in this community and people on this call who helped finance literally our ability to hire, make the full-time hire, and it's made a huge difference throughout the community, and not just for our community. I can think about any number of occasions where we've met with people from other communities to help them strengthen their security, including African-American pastors and the like. So to your point, we're all in this together, and when we strengthen one security, we strengthen all security.
No question. And security is an issue that is not going away, even with the COVID pandemic. And by the way, I think people on this call should know there's been over $175 million raised around the country for COVID relief. And the pain is going to be real, even as vaccines come. I think not just on the employment front, but mental health. These are issues that are not going to go away, but everyone on this call should know the community has really stepped up in this past 9 months. It's been very humbling for me to have a very close bird's eye view, a front row seat, if you will, on the incredible work all the professionals out there do, feeding people, taking care of people. I just remember last Passover, even with my wife and kids, just going to visit Holocaust survivors and dropping off food baskets. And they literally were shut in. They had no contact at all. And just a simple wave and a simple knowledge that, there are people that look after each other is always powerful.
Indeed, Mark. And we look around us and we know how fortunate we are. And I know you share this, how obligated and honored and privileged we are to have such wonderful first responders, medical personnel. We're all close to the Minnesota National Guard and the North Dakota National Guard and the South Dakota National Guard. So many people who are executing their missions under such tremendous pressure.
We miss that at the games. We love having the National Guard folks at our games and all the military. It's always one of the most exciting things about it, especially a pregame when, before the kickoff and the butterflies start getting in full gear. Lester and Andrew and our entire team, we really make sure to, and our coaches and players, we really do a lot with the military. And those of you who've been to the game, we have a special dedicated area dedicated to the MIAs and the military. So really a shout out to them.
Very good. Maybe show a couple pictures. Mark, you've been so supportive of the Vikings, and Lester, Andrew, and we saw before a picture of Kevin Warren too, and now Big Ten commissioner. Talk about a gentleman having challenges in his first year, but such tremendous influence for our community. Sammy, Anthony, just show a few pictures of some of the events that the JCRC and the Vikings have done together over the years, and I'll just quickly narrate them in a transfer of memory at the airport during Super Bowl times. Pictures of survivors of the Holocaust who came to Minnesota and honored them, and we had the pictures at the airport, and the Vikings were very supportive and helpful in that regard. So terrific. This is the mezuzah. You can see the mezuzah in Mark's hand, and my dear friend Bruce Karstad, who's in the picture, the American Swedish Institute, Lester called and said, we need a mezuzah. And we ended up in about 48 hours or 72 hours having it designed by a jeweler who's also a rabbi in Stockholm. It's beautiful. It's gold. And you can see Rabbi Davis and the entire sort of Vikings leadership team as we're going to dedicate the executive meeting room with the mezuzah. And there it is. And you got a little outline of the state of Minnesota, and it looks like a sheen. So it's all perfect there. And we're so proud to have that direct connection. And then we had the ambassador visit from Ron Dermer, gave him a little 1948 Vikings jersey, of course. And then, there's the brain trust of the team, and General Manager Spielman, Coach Zimmer, Ambassador Dermer, and Mark, of course. And there we are with the helmet and the football. And I think Ambassador Dermer actually has a good arm. When we were in the practice facility, I was just out with the Consul General from Chicago, Aviv Ezra, and suddenly the ball landed at my feet. Ambassador Dermer had thrown it all the way from the goal line to midfield, so he's got a good arm. Okay. There you have it.
He played
So-
He played football in Miami, I think, or somewhere.
Yes. So he's always proud of that, but it's a long way of saying, we're really proud, Mark.
And by the way, I spoke to him last week. He said he's visited like 48 states. I think he's missing North Dakota and one other one. So you might want to get on that before he heads back in January to Israel. So
Well, we should do that, but you have to remember that when Ambassador Dermer came to visit us, it was the first visit of an Israeli ambassador to the Twin Cities in about 30 years. So it doesn't happen very often, but we'll see if we can make it happen. Mark, let's talk a little football, if that's okay. I mean, here we are. It's both fun and serious simultaneously in the sense that the NFL has had to conduct itself in the midst of a pandemic with just the enormous amount of details and concern about everyone's safety that's involved. Nevertheless, there's been a football season that's ongoing. The Vikings have played 11 weeks. How do you manage it? Let's start with that question.
well, we manage it with great people. I mean, you see Andrew and Lester, but we have an incredible team of executives, coaches, general managers, trainers, medical people at the team. We're very proud of how seriously and how effectively we've dealt with the protocols. I know Andrew deals with it constantly around the clock, and the rules literally the ground moves beneath us every minute practically. So we knew going into the season that how we handled the COVID and would be actually contribute to the success of the team and how we handled it. And most importantly, number one is the health and safety of our team, our coaches, our players, and our fans. And in particular, Andrew, and you're welcome to jump in if you like, but we spent a lot of time with our governor, other teams, trying to work through balancing, getting fans back, and protecting their health and safety. Now we're disappointed we haven't been able to get the fans back as we want to, but we understand the public health and safety on this. So you're right, it's been a shadow over our entire season, but and I can tell you certainly it took a while for the players and coaches to get used to playing in an empty stadium and getting the energy up like you normally would. But thankfully, I think overall the league as a whole, Dr. Alan Sills, our chief medical officer, we have Eric Sugarman, our trainer, and our entire medical group have really done an outstanding job making sure that everyone's tested daily, that everyone is kept in the building only that are most essential. And when we travel, we take all the extra precautions to follow protocols. And thankfully, week 13 now, we've had a lot of shifting around and shifting ground for the league. But as far as the Vikings, we've thankfully been able to stay on target with our games and so forth.
Of course, I'm a fan since I've been born in 1963. The Vikings came in 1961. It's a big celebration year coming up for the team. My brother's a season ticket holder from Los Angeles, often coming all the way from LA to see the games. And that's a lot of Viking fans who come from all
50 states. We have fans, season ticket holders.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All you have to do is go to Kansas City last year or Los Angeles last year, and the Viking fans take over the stadium. So they travel really well. There's a lot of pride in the organization and the franchise. And I think that's only increased since the Wilf family has become owners of the team. And one other thing, I'm very proud of the way you connect to the past as someone who grew up as a huge Viking fan, the Purple People Eaters of that generation. I love to see you honoring them.
Plus we have a shofar on the helmet. Rabbi Raskus taught me that the first year we bought the team. So.
That's good. So we started 1-5. We had the bye. Now we're 4-1, and the team had a remarkable comeback victory this past Sunday. Shows me a lot of detetermination and fortitude on behalf of the team, particularly given the circumstances. I mean,
we
agree with that. What do you think?
We have a fantastic locker room. Rick Spielman, and we have 700 plus players on the draft board, and there's 70 or 80 of them that we won't touch. We red dot them no matter how talented, because we want a certain kind of person and player. We realize it's a sport that you have to be tough and strong and skillful, but we also want to make sure they're the kind of players that the community can be proud of and we can all be proud of. And I think this past year, I mean, we've had a social justice committee, for instance, for many years with our players, and this committee's been really out front. You saw some of them at the museum with our Project Success visit, and we were engaged in the social justice long before all this unrest this past summer. So we're proud of our players, and we're proud of the fact that we're following through. We announced significant commitments, $5 million towards social justice, $1 million of which the players are having a very active role in it. Areas like voting turnout, which was very impactful this past election season. Also in terms of working with people that are incarcerated to make sure that they're integrated back into the workforce and the community in a certain way. Eric Kendricks is very big on that, and other players, Amir Abdullah and others. So we have a great committee, and we're just trying to use our platform. The George Floyd, we have a scholarship now named for in the aftermath of the George Floyd, and we're proud that a young lady is going to Columbia, I believe, in New York, virtually this semester, but she will be in person hopefully soon. And those are the kind of things that we have to use our platform to elevate these issues. By no means do we want to take away from the fact that we're playing a game. We're here to entertain, but at the same time, we also use the platform to try to do good and make a positive impact. And just so proud of our players, our coaches, people like Coach Andre Patterson, who's been incredibly powerful. The conversations I know I've been privileged to be a part of, we've had with our players and coaches, and we share our stories, kind of the ones I talk about our family, what they went through years ago, and they talk about the things that they experienced not too long ago right in this country. And it's an eye opener for all of us. And I think the lesson here is hopefully we can be an example of we have to listen to each other, we have to educate each other, and with that, we can maybe make a little difference.
Precisely the point. This is the 100th anniversary this year, the lynching of 3 African-American gentlemen in Duluth. It happened here. It's just not the South. It happened here. And it's something in which the JCRC has been deeply involved with the Federal Court of Minnesota and the Chief Judge and many other important people. In fact, a person who was wrongfully convicted, an African-American in connection with the incident, just received the first posthumous pardon in the history of the state of Minnesota. Max Mason was his name. So, there's always an opportunity for rectitude, always a possibility to do well. Our dear friend is Stephen Belton, Urban League Twin Cities, a great JCRC partner. And we join with you, Mark, in doing everything that we can to advance social justice, particularly as our eyes are opened in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd. We all have serious work to do, but we also have a wonderful community that wants to step up.
When you say you're with us and we're with each other, I mean, when you go through those times like we did this summer, I know how impacted our players were, particularly. We were. The whole George Floyd thing was so, and it hit so close to home on top of that. When people like Eric Hendricks and Anthony Barr are going, or even my own daughter, when they go to different rallies or conversations, the emotion is very raw. It's very powerful. And what you talk about is being there for each other really makes an impact. You can literally see it. It can be very lonesome and very personal to people that have experienced it directly. I've been privileged. I know my parents and grandparents experienced those kind of things, but I've been privileged to grow up free of that largely. And we have to be very cognizant of people that really, and I know, Andrew, we have even in our organization, outside of the team, and our business side, the whole organization, we have a diversity and inclusion committee, and people have experienced all kinds of issues, not just racial, it could be sexual orientation, gender. And I don't know, Andrew, do you want to speak to some of what you've been seeing in the organization and how all of this has impacted?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark said it well in terms of how emotional everything was after George Floyd's murder, and just the importance of listening to each other. And we had a number of different conversations that were very impactful with players, I see the reference to Alan Page, Justice Page came and spoke to our organization virtually, and hearing different members of our community and what they've gone through. And, from an internal perspective, it's putting yourself in someone else's shoes of what they've gone through and what has impacted their lives. And our employees shared very, very deep, meaningful, personal stories of things that have happened in their lives, in our community, in our offices, that were really difficult for them. And it's important for us to take that and try and figure out how to, create an inclusive and respectful organization for everybody.
Thank you, Andrew. A couple points there. My dear friend, Rabbi Tedke, old friend, he mentioned he was wearing his Alan Page jersey, but of course, that's an incredible story. Alan
By the way,
going to law school.
Alan Page has been such a great leader in this area. He has spoken, I don't know, Lester, if you want to mention it, but he's spoken to our team a couple of times on our social justice. He's really helped guide the players and our staff and ourselves in terms of how to think about some of this stuff. I don't know, you want to add to that, Lester?
No, I think he covered it. I mean, he's been, you know, early on after his retirement, there was a little of a disconnect between Alan and the organization, and since the Wilf family have, you know, became stewards of the franchise and have dedicated energy, effort into our alumni, as Steve mentioned, Alan has come back in to the fold and has been, you know, very, very helpful in reaching our players. He's really impactful, can speak directly to our players. And so no, just it's a great asset. He's a great asset and a great person
And his scholarship and and he and his late wife and the scholarships that they provided, and you know, we were supportive of it as well. It's just another great point of light to bring up. So he's great for us.
Yeah, the Page Educational Foundation is really important community component. To want to say one quick thing, catchment area of the Vikings, South Dakota and North Dakota, Senator Kramer, North Dakota, and his leadership in passing the Never Again Act to provide inspiration as well as resources for Holocaust education throughout the United States. Understand, as Mark does and all of us do, this North Dakota Jewish community is smaller but mighty. Only a few hundred Jews that live in North Dakota. Nevertheless, Senator Kramer took on this leadership role, which speaks to the importance of our country.
Thank you for mentioning that. And I know I wrote a note to Senator Kramer when it happened, and thank you to Senator Kramer and all the leaders that got that done. It's an incredible example. And in fact, I believe there's maybe I'm getting the year wrong. Is it the 1612? I don't know what year it is. It's this, they're trying to do a parallel act for African-American education to connect the African-American History Museum and teaching on the African-American history. And that's something we're also working at with our social justice committee. So it's a great model. I know we're trying to ramp up. Part of the advocacy is to ramp up. I don't know if Senator Kramer or anybody from his team is on the call, but we're trying to increase the funding for that in this coming advocacy day. So I know Steve and your team will be all over it like Alan Page on a quarterback. So looking forward to that.
There you have it. Maybe 1619 was the year you were looking for. Because 16, they try to connect it to the 1619 project too. Well, we're about 40 minutes in, and I know you're really busy, Mark, and we deeply appreciate your time. Just wanted to say, among other things, thank you for everything that the Vikings are doing. We're very proud to partner with the franchise, and it's a long Jewish history, Max Winter, et cetera. That goes back many, many years with this team. We mourn the passing of Sid Hartman at 100 years old. Speaking of 100 years old, and how many columns did he devote over the years to the purple and the Vikings? And we certainly miss him all the time. But if there are some closing reflections that you might want to share with us, Mark,
I'm happy to stay a little bit if anyone has particular questions or comments. Sure. I'm open to that on the timing, so we're good there. But
okay,
I do want to thank everybody for everything. I know everyone on the call does different things. You mentioned people like Harold. I think I met him at a Spry 99 a few years ago at an event in Boca. So he's a great individual, great family. Senator Boschwitz. You mentioned so many people that I've gotten to know, and that's one of the great things with sports. And the guys here as well will tell you that is it's a small world. It's a privileged world we live in, and you meet some wonderful people through the privilege of being in sports world. But I do want to thank everyone for what they do for the community, for making the world a better place, and the JCRC is certainly a significant point in that. And like I said, we're in a time of great division, and we in our community have to make sure our house is in a good order and a good example, a light to the nations, if you will. And I look forward to really, working together with you in my JFNA way or in my Vikings hat, whatever hats I can help. Really look forward to it. But again, thank you for everything.
Sure. And, comment along there, my favorite Talmudic quote from Pirkei Avot is, it's not your obligation to perfect the world, but you can't desist from the effort. And if we all, it's like a mitzvah a day, if we all, as the Lubavitchers would tell us, if we all move in that direction, we're certainly going to make the world a better place. And I don't mean to sound like a Cassandra trite about it, but
I have to tell you, it's been, you see it. I mean, the reality is we didn't bargain into what time we are, but this pandemic time that I've been able to witness that the kind of work we've done. I mean, thousands of businesses have been helped with the SBA loans, for instance. And that didn't just happen magically. That took a lot of advocacy. It took talking to the White House. It took talking to Congress. And it's the first time in US history that the SBA loans went to nonprofits. And it saved millions of lives. And I know people, a president of a synagogue or a JCC, when they went to the bank to pick up that check, and it literally kept the doors open for another year or 2 years. And it's very powerful. And, providing equipment for nursing homes. I mean, the nursing homes, I don't know the numbers. It's a crazy, horrible number of people that have died in nursing homes, and many of them are Jewish oriented. So the Human Services Fund, we've provided $54 million matching for communities. So it's been momentous time, but thankfully, because we have an infrastructure and a system, we can react when we did. So that's where we're at. And in a different light, we have a big game coming up this week. So hopefully everyone will watch, and we'll get back on the road to the playoff hunt, but we got to just take it one at a time.
Well, we're a game out, 5 wins, and it's a heck of a lot of progress since the bye. So we're getting along. You say that $172,000 is a magical number for the JCRC. That was our PPP for this year, and it certainly helped us significantly in our last fiscal year. Ethan Roberts, our government affairs team, we have this, if you don't mind me saying this, Mark, we have this incredible team at the JCRC. We have more than 100 years together experience, and I go through the entire staff from Ruth to Laura to Susie to Anthony to everybody on our team, our speakers bureau, Holly, Sally, you name it. They've done a tremendous job over the years, but it's because of the support of the community that we keep ourselves together and build our consensus, as you say, with our team. Just want to say one more thing. You're a proud supporter of Yeshiva University. We have an exhibit coming in conjunction with the American Swedish Institute in July through October about the kinder transport. For folks, that's the rescue of Jewish children from Austria and Germany, primarily to England, but also some to Sweden, hence the Swedish connection. And they're going to be hosting that exhibit. It's JCRC, Bethel Synagogue, American Swedish Institute. But it's a program, it's an exhibit from Yeshiva University and Leo Beck Institute. So I want you to know that, Mark, and that's going to be this coming summer. And of course, we invite, there's even a little Viking piece at the American Swedish Institute. So it all comes full circle in the virtual circle there. So it's been terrific to have you, Mark. You're a terrific leader, a national leader, a global leader. You and I have had a chance over the years to talk about some of your foreign travel experiences too, and some of them have been quite eye-opening from what you've told me. So I say kol hakavod, and I hope that you'll continue in this work nationally and globally.
Thank you very much, Steve, for having me, and thank you for everyone who participated. I know our lives are in different phases going through all this, but the fact people are taking the time to engage and hear from each other and continue to do great work. So Steve and your team, we at the Vikings and we at the federations look forward to continue to work with you. And it gives us great hope to know that you're in the seat you're in. And I look forward to everyone hopefully participating February 1 and 2 and making sure your Congress people and senators and local officials hear about the issues that are important to all of us to move our society into a better direction.
Thank you, Mark. We should go forward from strength to strength. Here we are in 2020, where I think we're all looking to turn the calendar page for a better year in 2021. And that'll be our point of departure. And to help us get to 2021, let's make the playoffs. Okay, Mark, that would be a tremendous
How
thing.
about let's beat Jacksonville? I mean, Coach Zimmer has got us all talking the same way.
Right.
Let's not talk about anything but Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, indeed. One step at a time along the way. And so thank you. Thank you, Lester. You're such a great friend over the years. And Andrew, looking forward to getting to know you better. But thank you for all of your many efforts to the entire Viking organization. I want to say shout out to Trish. Trish is always so helpful with the Vikings and the scheduling. It's a tremendous team over there. And I got a tremendous team at the JCRC. So it's a great linkage. And I'm very proud to do our work on behalf of our entire community, which is the 3 states. So thank you, everyone, for participating. Good health to all. Stay safe. thank God for our paramedics and all our first line folks and our first
And we'll
responders.
see you here next year, hopefully. Looking forward to seeing you
Indeed.
here.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.